The reading that we just had, I'm a little bit high. Can you turn me down? I don't like to hear myself. All right. He's working us over there. Am I still high? I'm still too high. Yeah. I'm a loud mouth, but I don't need to be that loud. Okay. We need to mark a number, I think, on that. Just always put it on that number, so we'll always have it at the right place. Everything that we know has some sort of a beginning. We talked about that this morning in our Sunday morning Bible class. We're bound by linear time. Everything we know has a beginning and then it has an ending. The earth, the heavens, the cosmos, it began at a certain time, and now it will finally end at a time that God will decide. So the whole idea of a beginning and an end is something that we constantly live with. One of the big questions of our day, and one of the big questions that Christian people have, is when did it begin and how did it begin? You can talk with scientists, and various scientists have different ideas about the Big Bang Theory or something like this, you know. But somewhere along the line there had to be something to make the Big Bang. So where did it come from? Well, we can decide that we're going to think that matter is eternal, matter has always been, or else mind has always been. It's much easier for me to think in terms of mind, because I can think of mind being able to create matter, but it's very hard for me to think just of a piece of coal or an inanimate piece of matter somehow or another creating life. That doesn't make good sense to me. I'm not a scientist, but it still doesn't make very good sense to me. So when I turn to the book of Genesis, I have really a book of beginnings. There are all kinds of beginnings in the book of Genesis. It is a book that really gets us started. And as a matter of fact, of course, that's what the word Genesis means. It means the beginning. Genesis has been sort of an enigma, though, to a lot of Christian people, because there is a story of creation. And in this story of creation, we have 7 days. And people have tried to decide that these 7 days are 7 absolute 24-hour days. And they won't hear of anything else. They don't stop to think sometime that the solar system, which determines our 24 hours, was not even created until the 4th day. There are all kinds of logical and scriptural explanations of the idea of creation. The important thing is that the Bible says that in the beginning, God created. It doesn't say when the beginning was. It doesn't say how long it took God to create the heavens and the earth, unless you look at these as 24-hour days. If God could create, then I think He had the power to create in 7 days. I don't particularly believe that that's the way He did it, or 6 days rather. I don't think that that's necessarily the way He did it. But if you feel like these are 24-hour days, there's not anything that's wrong with that. God could have created the world to look like it's old. I think that Adam is a special creation of God. There's something about human nature and human beings. We're made in the image of God. And so there's something special about us that separates us from the animals. But all cultures everywhere have always thought in terms of how did it come to be. The ancient Babylonians had some interesting things. Back in the 1800s, about 1848, There were a group of archaeologists who were digging in the old city of Nineveh, and they came against the palace of the king of Nineveh, he was king during the 7th century BC. And his name was Ashurbanipal. And Ashurbanipal, in his palace, they found a group of 7 small cuneiform tablets. And men who could read this cuneiform, they read this, and this turned out to be a Babylonian story of creation. It's very fascinating to read. I don't read cuneiform, but I can read the translation of these things. But I just have some notes here about how they thought that creation took place. Well, naturally they believed in many gods, and so they felt like that the gods got together on this creation, not to cooperate, but to fight each other. There, for example, there was a god by the name of Apsu. He was the male god, and his female counterpart was named Tiamat. And Apsu and Tiamat, they generated a group of gods and goddesses. This isn't offspring, as we would think of them being born. They just generated them. They just created all of these gods and goddesses. Well, they got along all right for a little while, and then these gods and goddesses began fighting with each other, and they tried to destroy each other. Well, what happened was Apsu, the male god, destroyed all of them. He planned to destroy all of them. Word got to the father god. This god's name was Ea. And when word got to Ea about all of this, he killed the god Apsu. Well, this threw a monkey wrench into the whole works. And so Ea generated a god named Marduk. Marduk became the god of Babylon. When I was in Babylon, we went to the ruins of the old god Marduk. This was kind of interesting to me because part of it is rebuilt, and it was on a Sunday when we went, and we had the Lord's Supper there in that old Marduk temple, which I thought was just a little bit unique. Okay, Marduk then he generated a whole lot of monsters, they called them. He generated all of these monsters, and they went out to fight against Tiamat and her forces. Then Tiamat was killed. And so what Marduk did, and this is the climax of all of it, Marduk took the corpse of this dead goddess, and he miraculously created the cosmos out of the corpse of this dead goddess. Now, why have I told that story? Well, I told the story because I want us to see the contrast that exists between that very, very fantastic story and the simple story that we have in the Bible about the creation. In most of the polytheistic accounts of creation, there is a war. There is a fight between the gods. They want supremacy for themselves. In the Bible, you have one God who is not fighting anybody. He's not fighting other gods. Instead, he creates this out of his own power by his own word. You also have in the polytheistic ideas of creation, you have the whole thing centered on the competition between the gods, and each one is trying to outdo the other, and you don't have that in the biblical account. So what is the value here of the biblical account of creation? It does a number of things. One is it shows the sovereignty of God. He is not in competition with anybody or anything. He creates the cosmos. He creates the world. He creates all of these things that are all around us. And each time, he says, with each phase of the creation, he says, it was good. It was good. He didn't create any monsters to fight one another. He created the world, and then he said, it's good. How long were these days? I don't know. 24 hours? Maybe. If God wanted to do it that way, God could do it that way, I think. Were they eras of time? Maybe. A million years? Maybe. A billion years? Maybe. There isn't anything in the Bible that contradicts that idea. When someone says, well, the Bible says that the world is just 4,000 years old or 6,000 years old, no, the Bible doesn't say that. The Bible doesn't say that mankind is 6,000 years old. We don't know how old. In the beginning, when was that? I don't know. The Bible doesn't say. In the beginning, God created. When the beginning was, I don't know. You don't know. None of us know. And so if a scientist wants to come along, a geologist, and say, well, geology shows that the earth is 1 million years old, 5 million years old, 1 billion years old, whatever it might be, that's okay with me. I don't mind that at all. There's nothing in the Bible to contradict that idea. One of the things that has hurt us, I think, is that we've tried to literalize all of this, and when we do that, we find it very, very difficult. We have to then go back and explain, well, God did this in 24 hours or whatever it might be. He doesn't tell us. Why then do we have an account of creation? Well, there are a number of things. I'll mention one, showing the power and the sovereignty of God. And then there's something else here that I think is equally important, and that is that the story of creation tells us something about the nature and the character of God. What kind of God do you think the Babylonians believed in? A God who fought other gods? A God who was always striving for his own supremacy? A God who was not helping the creation, but he's demanding things of the creation, and all he knows to do is to punish the creation if the creation doesn't satisfy him. The God of the Bible is not that way at all. The God of the Bible, when he created this, he said, wow, that's beautiful. He saw it was good. So the story of creation tells us something about the character of God. He saw these things, he saw that they were good. When he created the animals, he saw that that was good. He created man. And quite literally, it says that after God had done all of this, he said, it is very good. And so it tells us something about the character of God, in contrast to all of these, I think, rather crazy ideas of what the creation what was supposedly like. Well, there's only a brief thing that's mentioned here in the first two chapters of Genesis that I want to call attention to. Man went out and he gave names to all the animals. I don't particularly know why he called one of them a platypus, but I guess that's, by the way, not Adam's idea. But we have all kinds of names for these animals, whatever it might have been. But then something came to him, and he seems to have seen the animals all had a mate. But there's none found that was suitable for God. Have you heard this this expression? God created woman as a helpmate for man. That really is not what it says. What does it say? A help meet, M-E-E-T. And that's a word that we don't use anymore in the same way, But in the days of the King James Version, 1611, that meant a help suitable for man. Stop and think about this now. Here are the animals. They are all suited to each other. But for man, there was not a suitable companion for him. And so God created woman. She's not beneath man. She's beside man. And symbolically, I've said this so many times in wedding ceremonies, she was not created out of a piece of, and this is not original with me, she was not created out of a piece of his foot that she should be stamped upon. She was not created out of a piece of his head that she should rule over him. But she was created by the removal of a rib. My father was a doctor, and I remember asking my dad one time, Dad, do women have one less rib than men? And he said no. He said it's all the same. But the story is so very, very simple, very vivid. There's nothing about that story that engenders the idea of competition or of domination or anything like this at all. It's just a very beautiful story to show that God said, it's not good for a man to be alone. I will create a help that will be suitable for him. And so he created woman. And Adam was thrilled about this. And Adam says, this is now bone by bone, flesh of my flesh. She's going to be called woman because she was taken from man. And then Jesus says, what God has joined together, let not man put asunder. For this cause, Adam says, a man should leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Well, this again says something about the character of God and this whole thing of creation. Well, we don't know for how long, but for some period of time, everything seems to have gone along real well. And then you had that familiar story of the problem. And so I put on my outline that this is the story of the world, the people, and the problem. And the problem, of course, was the problem of sin. I think we misunderstand many times the sin of Adam and Eve. It's very trivial the way we treat it sometimes. What is wrong with eating a piece of fruit? Well, we can't see anything wrong with it. God said don't. Now, why did God say don't eat of that fruit? I don't know. But I do know this, that Adam and Eve underwent exactly the same transposition as you and I undergo when we are tempted to do something wrong. Temptation is desire. If there's no desire, there is no temptation. I am not a drinking man. You could put a bottle of whiskey in front of me and sit it there on my desk for the rest of my life, and it would be uncorked. Because that is not a temptation to me. I have some friends, though, if you put it there, it would just drive them nuts because they want this so badly. They desire this. Temptation always has desire. All the devil tries to do is to show that the desire can be satisfied. Therefore, all temptation is based on deceit. And somebody says, well, so-and-so went into it with his eyes wide open. He says, I know this is wrong, but I'm going to do it anyway. Was he deceived? Yes, he is deceived. He is deceived. What do you mean he's deceived? He knew he was doing wrong, yes. Let's look at the idea of deceit for just a moment and see how this works in reference to Adam and Eve. They knew that it was wrong. They knew that it was a violation of what God said. How did this work then? Well, you see, deceit is when I attach the wrong value to something. If I had a diamond or something I thought was a diamond here, I'm not a diamond expert, and so I pay $5,000 for this diamond. And I find out that it's just a piece of glass. Well, that's pretty obvious. I've been deceived. What did I really do? I attached a value to something and it did not have that value. That's what sin is all about. That's what temptation is all about. Satan comes to us and says, why don't we go out and get drunk tonight? And I say, no, that's wrong. I won't do that. Everybody else is doing it. No, but I'm not going to do it. My friends say, come on, Jack, just this one time. No, I'm not going to do it. Don't you want to be a part of the bunch? Don't you want to be a part of the group? Come on, Jack, just this one time. It's not going to hurt anything for just this one time. It's wrong. Well, I know that's wrong, but I do want to be part of the group. I do want to be accepted. And just this one time is not going to hurt anything. And so I yield to it. Am I deceived? Yes. Why? I attached the wrong value to the group. And I attached the wrong value to obeying God. And so deceit always plays a part. Deceit doesn't mean that I'm fooled in the sense that I didn't know this was wrong. No, deceit just says I attached the wrong value to it. Now, that's happened with sin all the time. Let's look at Adam and Eve. The devil comes to Adam and Eve and says, well, let's just characterize it. Eve, how are things going? Fine. We really like it here. It's a beautiful place. We got all of the fruit trees. We've got everything we need. There's not a thing in the world that we need that we don't have. Oh, there's a lot of trees here. Yeah, you eat all these fruits of all these trees? Yeah. Well, except that one. And why don't you eat of that one? God said don't eat it. He said don't even touch it. Are you going to let God decide for you what you can do? Well, that's what he said. He gave us this whole place. What did he say was going to happen to you? He said, well, if we eat it, we'll die. You're not going to die. You're not going to die. You're going to be like God. You see, God knows what evil is. Evil? I've never heard of that. What is that? It's a whole big world that God will not let you go into. You mean God's withholding something from me? I could be having a lot of fun that I'm not having. I could be doing a lot of things that evil would offer to me that God won't let me do. Yeah, that's right. And besides this, you know, that means that you are not your own boss. You're not your own boss. God is your boss. Wouldn't you like to be your own boss? Yeah, yeah. Would you like to do as you please? Yes. Would you like to be autonomous? No, you don't have to answer to anybody. You see, in the world of evil, you don't have to answer to anybody. You're your own boss. You do what you want to do. Now, something he doesn't say is, here are the consequences of what you do. But he put before us all of the good things about be a part of the group, enjoy yourself for one night, be a regular guy. And that's just exactly the same thing that the devil did with Eve. And so Eve goes to the tree, she looks at it and says, wow, that does look good, doesn't it? Yeah, it really does. And she picks it and she takes a bite out of it. Oh, that tastes good too, doesn't it? Yeah, that's fine. And so now sin is brought into the world, which is basically the result of it is basically the same for all of us. And that is we declare our independence from God. God does not control me. Now, hang that on a hook for just a minute. Let's stop and think about the emphasis in our own country, in our own culture, and our own society on my rights. I have the right to do this. I have the right to do that. Legislatures, morals, nobody is supposed to decide for me what is right for me. It's like a girl that I had as a student in Vienna. We were talking about this, and she said, I am my own God. I decide for myself what's right and wrong. And so I asked her, I said, what is your criteria? Whatever I want, that's what I decide is right or wrong. Well, you see, that's the essence of evil, is that I decide for myself. And so I am autonomous. I am free to choose. I'm free to do as I please. And that's just exactly what took place with Eve. And then she gave it to Adam, and he ate. And there was the entrance of sin into the world. You see, in all of this, I am saying I want the license to do whatever I want to do. We are constantly bombarded with these things, with these types of things on radio, TV, conversation, clubs, all kinds of things, newspapers and magazines and books and so forth, that say to us that this is what you do if you're autonomous, if you are your own boss. There's a very beautiful song that was written, I guess probably back in the 60s. It's a story. It was a French song originally, and the person who wrote it really adapted it from a French song. He didn't like the French song. He said it was a real bad recording. And so he got the rights to the song, and then he rewrote the song and rewrote the music. His name was Paul Anka. And Paul Anka wrote this. He wrote it, by the way, in the middle of the night. He finished it up about 5 o'clock in the morning, and he said, I've got the man to sing it. That man is Frank Sinatra. This is the story of an old man who looked back on his life, and he says, boy, I've had a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of things that have gone wrong in my life, but I've won. I am the one who has done all of these things for myself. And so he's just before dying, and here's what he says. And now the end is here, and so I face the final curtain. My friends, I'll say it clear. I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this. I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do and saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the highway. But more, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up, but I spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall, and I did it my way. I've loved, I've laughed, I've cried. I've had my fill, my share of losing, and now, as tears subside, I find that it's all amusing. To think that I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way, oh, no, no, not me. I did it my way. For what is man? What has he got? If not himself, then he's for naught. To say things he truly feels, and not the words of the one who kneels. The records show I took the blows, and I did it my way. It's a beautiful song, and in some ways it's a very beautiful poem. But this poem says something that I personally don't like, and that is that the concentration in life is on me, doing it my way, declaring my independence, declaring my autonomy from God. When God created man, God said, it's good. When he put him in the Garden of Eden, it was good. It was not until man declared his independence from God that his problem started. And so, in this book of beginnings, we have the great and wonderful statement of the beginning of the cosmos. We have the beauty of the world. We have two people who of all things have just everything they need. And then we have the problem of sin. The problem that each of us, unfortunately, partakes in. There's another thing about beginning, because when sin came in, this benevolent God who created it all, he said the day will come when the seed of the woman will crush the head of the serpent. And so, in the sacrifice of Christ, we have God coming to our rescue, because he is a God not of war. He is a God not of competition. He is a God of love and mercy and compassion. Let's stand together now and sing our closing song.